are you ready to brave the wild? With me, your host, Paladino Joey. Brave the Wild is available on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Double Twist. Thank you once again for joining me today. Please bear with me. I'm not feeling my best. Hanging in there, though. Luckily, my voice didn't change too much, God willing. So, Minnesota, though, did not have the best week either. Just the scoring drought continues. We're talking 3 goals in the last 12 periods and 0-2 in the 2 games. That's right, 0-2 in the last 2 games, and of course, going back into the previous games. Yeah, only 3 goals in 12 periods. It's really becoming a super drought here. I don't even know where to go. Now, of course, the goaltending has been outstanding in front of Minnesota. Of course, David Riddick, and of course, Mr. Jones, Martin Jones in San Jose, Casey DeSmith in Pittsburgh, and Ben Bishop in Dallas. Just great goaltending, unfortunately. Great goaltending by Devin Dubnyk in Pittsburgh and in Dallas this past week. Of course, leading into the Christmas break and all that, and it ends tonight against the Chicago Blackhawks in Chicago, where Devin Dubnyk will more than likely be in net again. No surprise there. And obviously, he's been great. He's been great most of the time, keeping Calgary to only 2 goals back on the 15th. The Sharks game, not the best, but we're not going to talk about the Sharks game. Great goaltending in both games by both teams. Minnesota, though, a couple of horrendous turnovers in that game in Pittsburgh. The 20th of December, leading into Christmas, of course, in Pittsburgh. PPG Paints Arena. Gotta like that one. Just horrible turnovers. Greenway, it looked positive early on. He scored fairly early into that first period, pardon me. Only about 7 minutes in. Jordan Greenway with a nice wrister past Casey DeSmith. You felt, okay, maybe the Wild will come out of this one. Maybe the scoring drought's going to end, and we're going to win this 4-1, 4-2. Dubnyk's been fairly sharp. Maybe he'll be better than that Sharks game, pardon me. But no, that was all she wrote. Casey DeSmith was outstanding the rest of the night, facing 41 shots, and of course stopping 40 of them. Hoyle and Brodin were able to pick up the assists on the Greenway goal. But then a couple of horrible turnovers to Brian Rust and Devin Dubnyk behind the net. Literally just kind of tried to put it around the net from behind, and it went right to Jake Gensel, pardon me, and Brian Rust was able to finish on the one-timer. Similarly, also on Brian Rust's second goal into the third period, as the second period, very entertaining hockey, lots of shots on net, both goalies outstanding, lots of posts being hit both times. Throughout both of these games, by the way, posts from both teams. I mean, the post is the goalie's best friend, and we're talking like 3 or 4 times for each team in both of these games, but just nothing going. Jake Gensel able to set up Brian Rust for a couple of one-timers. Pattern with a terrible turnover as well behind the net for Devin Dubnyk. Went right to Jake Gensel. Jake Gensel again, quick pass to Brian Rust, one-timer. Pittsburgh Penguins end up winning the game 2-1. Casey DeSmith was phenomenal in net. Minnesota, a dumb penalty late in the game. They had the power play going. A little bit of time left in the game. An opportunity, 6-on-4, and then you have 7 men on the ice. It's just like unbelievable. 7 skaters, ridiculous. Too many men on the ice, and that was kind of all she wrote there. A 2-1 loss to Pittsburgh. Just uninspiring. You like the effort and all that. The effort was there. You got the shots on net. It wasn't like the Wild got only 21 shots. It's frustrating, though. Just nothing going. A lot of bad luck. A lot of just no lucky bounces whatsoever. And then 2 stupid idiot turnovers that cost the Wild the game. Only 2 goals given up, and both on turnovers. So definitely an extremely frustrating game against the Pittsburgh Penguins. That leaves you just shaking your head like, really? Did we really lose like that? And yeah, we did. The Dallas Stars game a couple nights later on the 22nd in Xcel Energy Center. You come in hopeful. Okay, let's end the drought. Let's end the losing streak. Just wasn't meant to be. I mean, this game was goose egg to goose egg the first 2 periods. It was boring. I mean, there were shots on net, so it wasn't super boring. It's just frustrating when nothing's getting by. I mean, Ben Bishop, again, one thing after another, if it's his helmet falling off or whatever late on where Eric Stahl could have possibly tied the game up. Devin Dubnyk outstanding throughout the game, but again, a couple of posts. A couple of posts hit by the Dallas Stars, and again, the Wild multiple posts hit in this one. Ben Bishop would stop 30 of 31. Devin Dubnyk didn't face that many early on, but a couple of shots later on. 25 stops out of 27 shots. Both goalies good in the game, of course. golden opportunities for Minnesota, especially in the overtime period, as this is the first overtime period for Minnesota since October 20th, which is the weirdest thing I've ever heard. Like, really? We're talking 2 months. I don't get it. 2 months since the Wild got to an overtime period, so at least you're guaranteed something, even if you lose the game, and the Wild ultimately do. Radulov was completely out of gas. He's not the fastest player ever either, but he's that player from Russia, of course, who's kind of been in the NHL and back to Russia, and in the NHL back to Russia. He looks like he's 45, but not quite. A nice little wrister, and of course a bad goal given up by Devin Dubnyk on that one, despite being freaking awesome throughout the game. Again, he didn't face a whole lot of shots from Dallas. Radulov ultimately with 2 points in the game. He also assisted on Jamie Benn's goal, which was a pretty good goal, I'd have to say. And I don't know, it's just a frustrating game. All the action happened in the third period. And again, there were opportunities in the first 2 periods, but just nothing happened, and Ben Bishop was sharp. Is it the Wild's offense sucks, or did we just run into hot goalies back-to-back games? And, of course, David Rittich and frickin' Mike Smith with Calgary. Mike Smith, as awful as he's been, magically steps it up right when we play him, because David Rittich had been so good, and Mike Smith probably, like, for the first time in a while, being treated like a backup goalie because David Rittich is so much better for the Calgary Flames the past few weeks, going into December and such. Putting Mike Smith down as the backup and Calgary leading their division. Well, Mike Smith was facing the reality that he might hardly get any minutes for Calgary, and that's why he stepped up, I'm sure, and he certainly did the job. David Rittich, same thing, though, and Calgary's got something going, of course. Yes, I know everyone hates Calgary right now, and I do too, because, well, if you've been living in a cave, obviously Minnesota Wild fans all probably know this by now, but in case you've been living in a cave or you've just been unavailable because of the holidays, or I like to call Christmas, other people call it the holidays, let's just call it Christmas. And I got a very, very, very nice review, by the way, on iTunes. I'll bring that up in the second segment. I can't thank you enough out there. That was awesome. Awesome review. Thank you so much on iTunes. That made me feel awfully good about this show. Thank you so much. But what was I talking about again? I don't even remember anymore, but a very frustrating situation with Minnesota. Again, unable to score goals, and it just kind of is what it is at the end of the day. As I gather my thoughts and my groggy head finally coming together here right on the fly, Matt Dumba will be out for 3 months with a ruptured pectoral muscle.
Oh, there's a difference.
Shut up! So the secret's out. It's a pectoral muscle. Weird, but it's got to be in that fight. Again, still, like pulling and ripping on that shoulder. I thought he could have, hyperextended the elbow, torn rotator cuff, separated shoulder. It looked like a shoulder. It turned out to be a pectoral muscle. So the secret is out, and whatever. Guys, you just hope that there isn't any cheap shot artists out there. A pectoral muscle, though, that's your upper torso. So I don't know. It is your torso, whether it's upper or lower. It is your torso, like your middle torso, basically your chest. Yeah, the pectoral muscle. How that ruptured, I guess. I don't know. But it did. And, of course, Matthew Dumba requiring surgery, and he will be out at least 3 months. So, yeah, well, Minnesota now has 6 defensemen, one of them, of course, being Nate Prosser, a right shot and all that. We appreciate what Nate Prosser brings, and I'm sure he'll get plenty of action, but, boy, I understand if the organization wants to keep guys like Brendan Menell and Louis Belpedio down in the AHL to continue to develop, because they've been doing freaking awesome. Brendan Menell just racking up the assists, especially the other night when you had the explosion by Iowa. Can't wait to talk about that in segment number 2. But it's going to be interesting to see what the Wild do in the next couple days to weeks here with the right shot situation. Of course, you like to have 7 defensemen. It'd be nice to see one of the young guys pair up with Nick Seeler. I got to think that should be fine. And Pattern, you're stuck with him. He's not been good. I think Pattern's been very disappointing. He's a strong defenseman at times, but then you get the dumb turnovers. He provides no offense whatsoever. Seeler, I just think he's a better player than Greg Pattern at this stage. I don't know. I don't know what to say about that right now. I'd love to see Belpedio play. He's one of the top defensemen in the AHL's Iowa Wild at this stage, but Brendan Menell's really emerged and he's been steady and reliable down there. And only 21 years of age, Woodbury, Minnesota, undrafted free agent, signed in the summer of 2017. That's just what a nice story, beautiful story. Brennan Mennel out of St. Thomas High School. Just wow, what a story. Beautiful, what he's been able to accomplish at the AHL here. You know, you think usually an undrafted free agent like that, just out of high school, didn't go to the Gophers, didn't go to the St. Cloud State Huskies, Omaha Lancers, God knows, you know, somebody like that, Omaha, Nebraska, whatever. Who knows? I mean, Bemidji State, you know, Northern. Okay, you get the idea. Go play with, go play with Grant Batalny or something as the coach there. But no, I mean, just to come right to the AHL and to be as productive as he's been, what a hell of a story. And there I go jumping into the prospects again. But hey, it's becoming something here. When we're talking about a 3-month absence for a guy, obviously conditioning and all that will be a factor. 3 months, and especially where the injury is. I mean, conditioning is going to be a factor for that guy, doggone it, as awesome as he is. And he's not going to have that rifle shot right away for a while after that. That's that's one of your major strength points of your body. If you're unable to work out your chest, I mean, I don't know. That sucks. Oh, that really sucks for Matt Dumba. Terrible injury for him. Nobody saw this coming. I mean, he might have had a 60-point season the way he was going. He was statistically heading towards the Brent Burns territory, which is borderline unthinkable. I mean, he's that good offensively now. 20-plus goals, 25, 30 goals. I mean, that's crazy. He might have been Jason Zucker as a defenseman, but freaking awesome. But unfortunately, again, now we're stuck. Unsure where to go with that. Again, only 2 games to review, so obviously talking about the news is kind of more important. And, of course, these games just depressing. And I don't know, a lot of the local media members, including myself, wouldn't mind seeing this team kind of not make the playoffs and get a higher draft pick. Again, get another Dumba, get another Zucker, or somebody better, hopefully, than Zucker. You know, somebody higher end at the forward position, somebody better than Luke Cunnin. I mean, wouldn't that be great if you got a Brock Besser type of player into the organization and you really have something to build around to go along with the Dmitry Sokolovs and such? I mean, that would feel freaking awesome. And I don't know. Gosh, the way Justin Kluse is playing, maybe we've got something down there in Iowa. Holy cow, that just might be worth calling up. But Eric Fear's done a good enough job as the fourth-line center so far. So, well, it might have to be a different player getting injured for Mr. Justin Kluse to get called up. But what a nice return after a very slow start to the season. Just exploding. Again, you can tell I can't wait for that. Mike Modano Award for this episode. Dubnyk. I mean, it's Dubnyk. Absolutely. Again, the stupid turnover in Pittsburgh, though, extremely frustrating. Greg Pattern's going to bring in the James Shepard Memorial. He doesn't bring a whole lot out there, and you get these dumb turnovers. He's just a minus player right now for me, and I think a lot of Wild fans would agree with that. You know, it's like I want to like him. He's obviously a beautiful story, this and that. The little kid, following him every game, and he gave him the jersey or whatever, signed a stick and all that. Just was very cool, and I'm sure the poor kid was sad to see him leave Dallas and all that. But I don't know. I mean, he could be a fan favorite, I'm sure, but I don't know. The production is not too good, unfortunately. He's a -3, so that's not the worst ever, but still, you're not seeing a whole lot of production. And I guess that turnover pissed me off, and of course, he's had a number of turnovers during the course of the season that have been very costly or could have been costly. Luckily, without a spectacular Devin Dubnyk save, Dubnyk definitely deserves the Mike Modano Award / Neil Broughton Award for this episode. Greg Pattern will ring in the James Shepard Memorial. With that, we'll take a break and have a pretty fun segment number 2, I'd like to believe. Previewing 3 games, hopefully more positivity coming in versus the frustration of not being able to score despite playing pretty well. Again, minus the stupid-ass turnovers and the stupid-ass penalties here and there, the Wild played really well in these games, I think. They did. I mean, you get 31 shots against Dallas. You get 41 against Pittsburgh. I mean, that's not bad. And they just ran into hot goalies. So it just kind of is what it is there. 4 losses in a row. Very frustrating. And finally squeaked out 1 point out of the 4 most recently. Sheesh, that's pretty harsh. That's harsh. Minnesota, again, would be missing the playoffs if the season ended today. That's a given. So with that, we'll come back and jump on board, preview some games, talk some prospects, and ring in the new year. back here on Brave the Wild, segment number 2. Time to talk about the upcoming 3 games where we can ring in the new year for the Minnesota Wild. And then, of course, look in the prospects. Some of them had a wonderful week last week, a little explosion. That was pretty fun, so we'll talk about that coming up very shortly. Let's start off with the Chicago Blackhawks tonight. December the 27th, the Minnesota Wild head to Chicago. They are 30th in the league in goals against, but yeah, I mean, because Cam Ward wasn't so good, 4 goals a game. I was going to think, well, Corey Crawford's back and everything's okay. Yeah, well, not yet. But we all know how he's done against the Minnesota Wild historically, so I'm just going to kind of keep my mouth shut. Along with the other guy who's leading the club in scoring, that would be Patrick Kane, 44 points, 17 of them goals, 27 assists for Patrick Kane. He is just dominating every statistic offensively for the Chicago Blackhawks. What if he got traded? No, he's not going to get traded. He's got a Parise Suter kind of a contract. So same with the Jonathan Toews. It is what it is. But watch them come back pretty quickly here because they're going to get like the top 3 pick in the draft, top 5 pick. And, well, for their sake, they're going to, for their sake, hopefully it's the right pick. For our sake, hopefully it's not. But pretty much after Patrick Kane, Jonathan Toews, it's like Alex DeBrincat. So, okay, he's all right. Renan Saad, Mr. Evil Otto himself, he's underachieved the last few years since returning to the Chicago Blackhawks. Only 20 points in the 37 games he's been in. Brent Seabrook's way past his prime. Duncan Keith's way past his prime. Anisimov is a good player, but he's not great. 17 points in the 35 games he's been out there. Schmaltz is alt. He had a wonderful start to his career last year. He came from North Dakota to the Chicago Blackhawks. Wonderful rookie year last year. He's missed a number of games, 16 so far this year. He's only got 11 points, only 2 goals on the season. So it's just not been a good year for the Blackhawks. They're tied with the Los Angeles Kings for pretty much the worst record in hockey. Or are they 1 point ahead? They're 1 point ahead of the LA Kings, but the Kings have 2 games in hand. St. Louis has only played 34 games. Wow. So they have 5 games in hand versus the Blackhawks. 39 games for the Blackhawks and only 32 points. They are really struggling. 7 games below 500, minus 34, which is worst in the entire Western Conference. Pretty amazing statistic there. The next team we're going to play is the best plus-minus in the Western Conference. That would be the Winnipeg Jets. So going to be very interesting. Tampa Bay dominating. Toronto 48, plus 37 respectively for the Toronto Maple Leafs. To me, whether this is in Chicago, whether this is a team that knows us well, whether this is a team that has owned us the past, 8 years or so, get the job done. Win. Please win, baby. The Blackhawks, surprisingly, have actually been playing a little bit better, though. They gave up 7 goals against the Sharks on the 16th, 7-3 loss. And then Nashville 2-1. Nice game by Crawford. 5-2 win over the Dallas Stars in Dallas. A 2-1 very impressive victory against the Colorado Avalanche on the 21st, and then a 6-3 loss at home versus Florida. Hopefully Minnesota can get the job done. Now both clubs on the same break, 23rd to 27th. Both teams coming off a loss, 4-day break, Christmas break, as we like to call it, 27th of December. You got to beat this team. I mean, they're, if we're even somewhat serious about being a playoff team or somewhat serious about even being a respectable team, you got to beat the Blackhawks. I don't care how much Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane and Corey Crawford have owned the Wild. You got to get the job done. So to me, I don't know. End the scoring drought, please. And if the Wild get shut down again, 2-1, 3-1 in Chicago, just bleep and tank. That's all there is to it. I just dropped an F-bomb. Might have to catch that one. Holy God. Wasn't expecting to do that, but that's pretty much how I feel. Just bleep and tank. I mean, it's getting to that point. Whatever, I mean, enough is enough. It's too much. So I'm going to pick the Wild to win 4-2, 4-2. 4-2. I mean, I like the way Devin Dubnyk has been playing. I keep coming up with that same score. Let's keep it 3-1. Devin Dubnyk really shuts down the Blackhawks, and it's kind of going the opposite direction. 3-1 win over Chicago. Minnesota scores 3 goals, the same amount of goals they've scored in the last 4 games. We pile them up against the Blackhawks and win 3-1. Patrick Kane will score for Chicago because he will. Because he always scores against Minnesota or Jonathan Toews, but Patrick Kane will be the guy that will score for Chicago. Maybe they'll get 2 goals. I don't know. Maybe it'll be 4-2 with an empty netter for Minnesota. But one way or another, just get the bleeping job done. Zach Parise will score for Minnesota versus the Chicago Blackhawks. He will be the most likely guy to score in the game, in my humble opinion. Goal number 16 to continue to lead Minnesota in scoring. Get the job done and beat the bleeping Blackhawks. That's all I got to say. Now you get to play the Winnipeg Jets on the 29th of December. I don't like the way Minnesota plays in Winnipeg. I love the way Minnesota plays Winnipeg in Minnesota. I love the way we played the Jets here. We always seem to beat them. A matinee game in Winnipeg. Kind of a matinee. 3 in the afternoon on a Saturday. Loss. I'm sorry. It's a loss. I don't like the way we play against Winnipeg, in Winnipeg, and I don't like the way we play in these bleeping matinee games. Once in a while we win them, but I don't feel good. And I don't feel good physically right now either. You could probably tell. That's why I'm a little moody. First place in the Western Conference, not just the division, but the Western Conference. 50 points, best goal differential, 24-10, all that good stuff. They're 4th in the league in goals, 5th in goals against, 2nd in the whole NHL in power play, 11th in penalty kill. Minnesota, by the way, the most notable statistic for Minnesota, is 2nd in the NHL in penalty kill. So we've been good there, but the power play is just mediocre at best. Sometimes we score on all of them, and sometimes we're 0 for 5. We're like 3 for 5 one night, 3 for 3, and the next night we're 0 for 5. Well, I don't know. I'm not feeling too confident going into Winnipeg. Mark Scheifele has been a hell of a player. 49 points. Blake Wheeler, of course, we all know who he is. Minnesota ties, We all know. Played for the Gophers during that run where we were the team that was a lot better than they were performing in the tournament. That's for sure. They played great in the regular season, and they'd freaking choke in the tournament every year, which drove us all crazy. Interesting goalie combination. Connor Hellebuck, he gives up goals, almost 3 a game. His save percentage is just barely below 91, not that great. And then you got Laurent Brossoit, who's been fantastic. Laurent Brossoit, he has been good, 8-1. Lights out, man. He's got the only shutout of the year for the Winnipeg Jets, and he just got it versus the Vancouver Canucks. 1-0. That is kind of a Winnipeg type of game. Despite the fact this team can score goals, they can also really, really, they can really tighten up things as well and shut you down. And that's what the Winnipeg Jets did to the Vancouver Canucks, who are not a very good team, but still 1-0 win. Laurent Brossoit, who has been lights out in net for the Winnipeg Jets, may have a nice positive future in the league. Save percentage of 94 in the 10 games he's been in net. Put it this way, if Laurent Brossoit is in net, we're done. The Wild have beaten Connor Hellebuck many times, and Connor Hellebuck has beaten the Wild many times. This has got Green Bay, Minnesota, Chicago, Minnesota when it comes to football all over it, because it's a division rival. The home team always bleeping wins these. They just always do. And that's not trying to be lazy, like a lazy analyst. And wow, Calgary versus Winnipeg tonight. That's good. I like it. Calgary versus Winnipeg tonight. Cool, man. I like it. Or is it tonight? It is tonight. Yep. Ooh, I like that. So leading into Minnesota. Woo, top 2 teams in the West. Maybe that'll be the conference final for the Campbell Trophy there. Campbell Conference Trophy. Dustin Byfuglien, of course, former forward, moved to defense, 28 points, former Blackhawk, and he has been a killer for the Winnipeg Jets. Power play master out there. He's got 14 power play assists, including 1 goal, 15 power play points. Blake Wheeler, 18 assists on the power play, no goals, only 5 goals. Kind of Gretzky-like when later in his career with a bajillion assists and not too many goals. 43 assists for Blake Wheeler. He's like a super Granlund when it comes to that statistic. When Granlund kind of wasn't scoring much, but he'd get a lot of assists. Awesome. Mike Scheifele has been a star though. 22 goals. Patrick Lane, nice addition as well in the past. He has just been fantastic. 23 goals, leading the club in goals, but no assists hardly. So him and Blake Wheeler kind of offsetting each other. It's the depth of this team, though. Like how Chicago had they have their 2 stars, and then somebody named Debrin-Katz, the 3rd leading scorer, and after that, it's like Brandon Stotts only got 20 points, and it's like not much to talk about. Winnipeg is just 49, 48, 30, 28, 28, 27, all down to Ehlers down there with 27 points. 15 goals in the season for Nikolai Ehlers. 27 points, 15 goals for him. A very dangerous team, top to bottom. Strong defense, strong scoring. They're one of the best teams in the league. That's why a lot of people have this team winning the Stanley Cup or getting to the Stanley Cup Finals. They're going to the conference finals this year, and if they don't, it'd be a huge shocker. Maybe the Vegas Golden Knights knock them out again, but that'll be something. This is a great team. I don't like them at all, but it's a great team. Let's just be honest and give credit where it's due. They are only 13 points ahead of Minnesota right now. which makes you feel all warm and fuzzy on the inside. Minnesota's not going to win the game, bottom line. 3-1 type of game. I think Winnipeg's going to score. It might even be 4-1, 4-2 type of game. 4-1 possibly, 3-1 down the stretch. You pull the goalie, they score their fourth goal. I think it's going to be 4-2. I think Winnipeg's going to get 4 goals in the game. I mean, they're just that good. 3-2, 3-1, something like that. But Winnipeg will win the game. The most likely guy to score for Minnesota, Mikael Granlund, is due for another goal, and let's give it to him. I hope he can get it done. Maybe even multiple goals in the game for Mikael Granlund. Spurgeon's also very due, but I'll go with Granlund in this one. I got a feeling he's going to find the back of the net in one of these, make some kind of a nice move, maybe on the power play, and get the job done for Minnesota, but will not win the hockey game, unfortunately. Winnipeg, again, by the way, I'll look at their last 5. They're 4-1. No surprise. They lost to the Los Angeles Kings, though. Wow. They beat the Blackhawks on the 14th 4-3. Tampa Bay 5-4. Very impressive game there on the 16th. Possible Stanley Cup final there. Tampa Bay and Winnipeg, 2 best teams in hockey, along with Toronto and Nashville, of course. That's your big 4. You lose to the Kings, one of the worst teams in hockey, but hey, that's every game, and on the road and stuff happens on the road, especially. You beat the Sharks on the road 5-3. Very impressive game there. And then a 1-0 shutout by Brassard. So we'll see what happens with the Jets. They will again play the Calgary Flames with another epic battle, which they'll probably win, because they just will. You can tell I'm thrilled about it. The annual New Year's Eve game will be the Pittsburgh Penguins in Xcel Energy Center. I believe we played them before. We've definitely played Winnipeg, and we've definitely played the Columbus Blue Jackets in this. I believe we played them before in the New Year's Eve special every year in Xcel Energy Center, 5 o'clock. Love these. And yes, I'm pretty sure we have, and we pretty much never win this game, but I don't know. I've got a good feeling. I've got a good feeling Minnesota's going to go 2-1 this week. Beat Chicago, beat Pittsburgh. 2 teams that have had won multiple Stanley Cups. Obviously, 5 in the last 10 years here. Pretty impressive. Like the Pittsburgh Steelers and the New England Patriots, basically, of hockey. When it comes to the last 10 years or more. Of course, Pittsburgh, it's been a while since they won a Super Bowl, so that's okay. I hate the Steelers. I like the Penguins a little bit. Obviously, talented, deep, blah, blah, blah. Mr. Genzel's been a nice story, obviously. We wish the Wild could have him. 15 goals, 18 assists, a couple of one-timers set up to his buddy Brian Rust there, who's only got 9 goals. A solid player. I'd take Brian Rust in Minnesota on the 3rd line if humanly possible, but I don't know. Chris Letang had a disappointing year last year. He's been much better this year. Phil Kessel, of course, a guy who's centered the 3rd line at times and been fantastic. That's why the Penguins are so good. It's just phenomenal up the middle. Sidney Crosby, the LeBron James of hockey. Malkin, I'm not sure what he would be like. Not the Kevin Durant or anything. That would probably be, I don't even know. Kevin Durant's probably Connor McDavid or something. Or he's beyond that even. I don't know. They are what they are. One way or another, very talented team who's got the job done. They found a goalie for this year, because I think Matt Murray is I think he's toast right now. He's been terrible. Tristan Jarry's not been anything special either. He's been bad in the 2 games he's been in there. He's basically the 3rd goalie and AHL goaltender. Matt Murray's been playing like an AHL goaltender when he's been in net, and I think it's Casey DeSmith's team right now in the goaltender position. Matt Murray miraculously has had 2 shutouts, but so has Casey DeSmith, and he was just a stonewall for Minnesota last time around. I hope Minnesota can get the job done. Penguins playing significantly better after they look like they've been dropping off. They're starting to knock on those playoff doors again, and they're 3rd place in that Metropolitan Division. Don't look now. And Casey DeSmith added his 2nd shutout of the season versus Carolina most recently. So pretty good. The goaltending has been way better in Pittsburgh of late. Way better. Despite giving up 3 goals to the Kings, who've been a little bit frustrating for teams. On the 15th, the Penguins still beat them. They lose 4 goals, give up 4 goals to Anaheim at home. And then they beat Washington, which they normally do, 2-1, beat Minnesota 2-1, and 3-0 over Carolina. Casey DeSmith has been outstanding of late. Matt Murray had 1 good game in there, but I don't think anybody trusts him right now. I have a good feeling about this game. I don't know why, despite the fact Pittsburgh's playing well. I love the way the Wild play the Penguins in Xcel Energy Center. I'm going to go with the win for Minnesota. It's like the same score every time, though, isn't it? How about a 2-1 win for Minnesota? A very lockdown type of game, close type of game. Minnesota comes out victors at the end of the day. I think Jason Zucker's the hero again, or at least he'll score. Maybe he'll score the first goal. Eric Stahl will get the second. I think it's going to be Stahl and Zucker will be the 2 goal scorers. That's just my guess, but who knows? Maybe Granlund, but I'll go with Eric Stahl will kind of be the hero, though. He'll score the game-winning goal for Minnesota. Jake Gensel will score for the Pittsburgh Penguins. I think it's going to be Gensel or Crosby, most likely to score for Pittsburgh, but Minnesota wins a 2-1 victory. Casey DeSmith, who's been great. Dubnyk has been great, generally speaking. It's going to be another mano-a-mano kind of game. Not a whole lot of scoring, maybe 30 to 35 shots per team. Maybe Minnesota gets to 40 and outlasts the Pittsburgh Penguins before overtime. A regulation victory for Minnesota before overtime or shootout. So, because we don't go to overtime or shootout anymore. And Minnesota ends up winning the game, and it'll be Happy New Year, Minnesota, with the win and a 2-1 record in this week. Now, let's look at those prospects in that Lightning game they had this past week, including another 4-0 victory last night. Last Friday was a special night if you're an Iowa Wild fan. Now, you give up 7 goals, and that sucks. And John Gillies gave up 8 goals, 45 shots from Iowa, and Kaapo Kähkönen. See, this is why I'm happy for Kaapo Kähkönen, able to get the shutout coming up later here. But a 8-7 victory over the Stockton Heat, again, the Calgary Flames AHL affiliate. So hopefully no fights and no injuries in this game. But Justin Kluse, a hat trick. And 3 assists. That is just crazy. Mason Shaw added 3 assists in the game. Brennan Menell, 4 assists. Dmitry Sokolov has been pretty quiet, adding his 9th goal of the season, so he's way up there. Louis Belpedio getting his 10th point, which was his 3rd goal of the year, to go with his 7 assists. Jerry Fitzgerald, of course, has been playing well. Kyle Rao even added 3 points in that particular game. What a fun night for Iowa Wild fans. And Justin Kluse, again, really coming out of that doldrums, and he's now only 1 point behind Cal O'Reilly for the team lead in points. Pretty awesome. Justin Kluse, 10 goals in the season to go with his 12 assists. That hat trick really got things moving. 22 points in 25 games. He's a +7 for Minnesota. The guy who's just been a phenomenal story. Like I said, 4 assists for Brennan Menell, who had been solid all season. Just picking up the assists here and there on the power play and this and that. Again, Woodbury, Minnesota native. No goals so far this year, but 16 assists now, and he's a +13, which leads the entire team. Jerry Fitzgerald second with 11. Louis Belpedio at 7 now. He was a +10. Matt Bartkowski, is a +7 with 9 points. For the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania native there, 30 years old, unfortunately, so a career minor leaguer, but he's done a heck of a job, and again, a nice, wily veteran. Will Biden finally scored his first goal last night. How about that? Finally. 5 points, as he's been kind of chipping away, finally getting some points here. Now he's at 5 in the 19 games. He was stuck at like 1 or 2 for the longest time, and he's been chipping away. Will Biden, again, the acquisition in the Gustav Olofsson trade, only 20 years old, so a pretty young guy at the AHL level. Luke Cunnin, of course, the other 20-year-old, along with Dmitry Sokolov. There is hope in the system right now. The cupboards aren't bare. That's the good part. Again, Luke Cunning's been up with Minnesota, 3rd line. Hasn't scored jack squat, unfortunately, but has had some nice moments here and there. Of course, that fun fight he had in the Dallas game, drawing some blood and all that. That was entertaining. It was fun, but unfortunately, just another loss for Minnesota. At the end of the day, drawing some blood from both players and standing up for his teammates, but to see Minnesota lose just was heartbreaking. Very, very frustrating right there. Hooking, where am I looking at here? Yep, the fighting. Him and Roman Pollock. That's who it was. He got that big fight with Roman Pollock. That's who it was. They drew some blood there. Both players drew blood. Pollock got in some pretty good punches. Got 1 trillion penalty minutes in the game. He was actually ejected in the game. Game misconduct and all that. So that's nice. Instigator and all that. So that was kind of a big mess for Pittsburgh. Roman Pollock ultimately missing a ton of time, and Minnesota getting a 4-minute power play, which unfortunately amounted to absolutely nothing, and that was the extreme frustration in that Dallas game. So backtracking a little bit, adding more details to that Dallas Stars game, which was a bit disappointing, despite the fact Minnesota played well in the game, but just not well enough, and that's where the frustration comes in. So far, Luke Cunnin has not provided a single point in his 6 games in the NHL, which kind of sounds like last year, and Ulrich Sinek has been as invisible as ever, stuck at 4 points. I don't know, man. I don't know. Sending him down to the AHL isn't the dumbest thing either, I don't think. I don't think it really is. So there I go, bouncing around. Again, the prospects have been very, very excited with Brennan Menell, Luke Cunnin, Mason Shaw, he's only 19 years old. He's actually the youngest player of the team, and he's third in scoring. Had those 3 assists, added another one yesterday. He's got 18 on the season. He's definitely the Granlund of the Iowa Wild, unless you want to call Cal O'Reilly that. He's got the same amount of assists and a couple of extra goals there for Cal O'Reilly, but he's 31, unfortunately, from Toronto there. Justin Kluse, again, at very minimum, he's a wonderful AHL player, but I think he could have some NHL in his future, and hopefully he does. Kyle Rao has had some NHL in his past. Hopefully he can get back there again at some point. Unfortunate, though, he's kind of stuck in Minnesota, in Iowa right now, because we kind of have who we have. It's good to sign some wily veterans to help Minnesota in that fourth line. You're getting an Eric Fair and such, but I don't know. I don't think Brown brings anything. I think Fair does bring something. Joel Eriksson Ek, I think I would not be against Justin Kluse and Eriksson Ek trading places right now, and I think that would be the smart thing to do when you want to talk about prospects. Both of them are prospects. Joel Eriksson Ek needs to find that scoring touch in the AHL. Go ahead and tell me he's been fine, this and that. No, he's not. He's not scoring, and he's invincible. Justin Kluse deserves a crack at the NHL for an extended period, 2 to 3 weeks at least, and see if Joel Eriksson Ek, 10, 15 games in the AHL, can find that scoring touch and still be a point-a-game guy. Maybe come back up to Minnesota if Justin Kluse isn't providing hardly anything. And maybe Joel Eriksson Ek can finally get going. You got to do it. I mean, the Twins did it with Torrey Hunter. It's the same thing, getting down to AAA, which is the AHL, and finding that touch. Finding Torrey Hunter started slugging that ball for the Twins way back in the day after struggling, couldn't hit anything. Found that touch, came up, and he was Torrey Hunter. Finally, he became Torrey Hunter. And then let's do that with Mr. Joel Eriksson Ek. I'm not comparing him to Torrey Hunter, but I'm just saying situations are similar in terms of the guy has talent. Just get him down there and get him going. Let's go. Justin Kluse, hopefully, maybe, just maybe, he could be that center for Minnesota for a long time in the bottom six, so to speak, third, fourth line type of guy. Maybe he can play some wing, but also most of the time he's a center, and he's been a damn good one. He can score goals, and he can set players up. And guess what? What's Justin Kluse? He's a right shot, folks. Justin Kluse shoots right, which, again, very few players on Minnesota do. Obviously, wonderful career with the Gophers. He was on that team that went to the national championship game as a freshman, 32 points. I mean, no Gophers freshmen are doing that right now, despite it's a pretty decent class. Awesome. Nice to see a lot of these guys step up, though, this past week. College, of course, finally getting back going again, and it's great. Gotta love that. OHL, certain guys. Obviously, Ivan Ladny has been about a point a game still, and that's good. But let's get him to the AHL and see what he can do. I mean, looking at OHL players and stuff, it's just kind of like, I don't know. I'm more interested in the Iowa group right now at the moment because none of them are really standing out so much in the OHL, and the OHL is, we'll get back to that more in the coming weeks here and there. I mean, I don't mind talking about it. It doesn't hurt anybody, but at the same time, it's good to see guys in the AHL providing some scoring touch, including Dmitry Sokolov, who hopefully will make it to Minnesota in the next 2 years here with Kirill Kaprizov 2 years from now. Put them on a line together, maybe. Who knows? Wouldn't that be something? So with that, I think that's about it. Now let's look at before I step away, let's look at this wonderful review on iTunes. Just can't thank you enough as I gradually load this up. And again, I encourage all of you, please do write a review of the show. If you like the show, you want to help it out, please write a positive review. This was just the bomb. I mean, I really appreciate it so very much. If I can get it to load here, gotta keep going all the way. Fun and fat. Nope, that's not the right one. Where did it go? Or where did it go? Yeah, it gets all unorganized and mixed up, unfortunately. Good show. No Baloney Podcast. There we go. I knew there was there. It was just last Friday. Apple IS 1984. So unfortunately, not a regular name there, but it was he put No Baloney Podcast as the headline. Great podcast. Willing to say the difficult things other podcasts wimp out from mentioning. Covers all the bases. Games, minors, players' performance. What's right? What's wrong? More people should listen to this podcast versus some of the other PCs and political correct big business. out-of-towner hate the fans podcast out there today. And yes, he says Merry Christmas. Love it. Thank you so much, Apple IS. And let me know who you are if you can. Thank you so much. That was an awesome review. That is about as good a review as I've ever gotten on anything in my, and I've had some good reviews here and there. And in the early days, back about 9 years ago, there was some harsh bullcrap, and I don't know. It just is what it is. People are looking for something else, this and that, and that's just how it is. People are going to troll. People are going to hate. People are going to do this, do that. But can't thank you enough. Apple IS 1984. That is a awesome review, and it means a lot to me. So can't thank you enough. You get the gold star for this episode in a big, big way. So let's talk about the Facebook page, the contact details, and maybe you can call in sometime, whatever it is. At Brave the Wild is the Twitter account. Facebook.com/Brave the Wild is the Facebook page. Going to give a big shout out to a couple of pages as well. MNW players, encourage you to join that. I noticed a lot of people have been joining that page, even though it's been a bit inactive, unfortunately. Merrick Skybot tends to post more on the, or actually Pavel Bunet, I should say, has been posting much more on Minnesota Wild Hardcore. Covers everything. I love Pavel Bunet out of the Czech Republic. Unfortunately, his friend Pavel Jennings was traded a few weeks back to the Los Angeles Kings organization, so that's a bit of a bummer. But it is what it is. Hopefully, he can do better there and get back on track in the ECHL there and onto the AHL. Pavel Jennings, Czech Republic. Thanks again, though, Pavel Bunet, the good guy out there, good friend, loves hockey, loves the prospects, loves the current players. Follows everything, and he posts on Minnesota Wild Hardcore, and of course he is the owner and creator of MN Wild Players. Encourage you to join that Facebook page, and of course Minnesota Wild Hardcore. Huge shout out again, Pavel Bunet, Merrick Skyba, Jim Maddell, Sarah Maddell, Chad Walski, many others out there, Chance Kostick, David Kostick, and so many others. You guys are awesome. Love that page, and can't thank you enough for being good friends out there. And again, you got the Minnesota Wild Hardcore patch. You just might win one of these. Hear that little scratching sound? Minnesota Wild Hardcore patch scratching up there on the microphone. Still got to put it on the jersey. I've been lazy. It's going to get on the jersey one day, but I love to have it as a companion when I do the shows because Wild Hardcore is the best, and of course these patches are awesome. I mean that's high quality, man. It look awesome on a jersey, of course, and you just might win one of those when you chat around in the in-game threads and have a lot of good points and are active, which I haven't been because of my schedule. I have to catch up to games, unfortunately, at times with my schedule. But I catch up and get all the details I need to get, and here I am doing the show. So it is what it is. We all have our schedules. We all have to do what we do. I would be in that in-game thread every game if I could be. Every game. And, that Minnesota Wild Hardcore patch looks better and better each year because it's different each year, too. This one's freaking awesome, though. And, it's great. Jim Maddell, Sarah Maddell out of Duluth there. That's Jim is the founder of that page. Again, major shout out there. Thanks again. God bless all of you. I hope you have a wonderful New Year. Hope you had a great Christmas and all that. And Hanukkah, if you celebrate that. Kwanzaa, maybe you celebrate that. Who knows? All respect to you. And the other way to get on the show could be, again, you can comment on the Facebook page and the Twitter account. Please do like and follow the Facebook page or Twitter account. That information will be in the show description. And then you could get on here via audio, which would be really nice. The phone line is 209-736-7877, 209-736-7877. It is a voicemail. Do treat it as such. Mention you're calling in for Brave the Wild and do your statement, shout out, comment, question, and opine. Just like Apple IS 1984. Join the Facebook page, Twitter account, call in, whatever it is. Those are the phone lines. The Facebook page also has the Call Now button, which goes to the same phone line via Facebook Messenger, if you have it. And that's a free call, of course, because it's Facebook Messenger. They don't charge you anything, regardless of where you're from, as long as you're connected somehow, some way to the internet or cellular, wireless, whatever the heck. And there you go. The best of all, though, I think, is the audio submission route, because there's no limit. The other one is a voicemail, so it's a 3-minute limit. The audio submission route, you simply use the free voice recording application on any smart device on the planet, from a small little iPod all the way up to a big iPad to a freaking smart TV. It might even have it. I don't know. I don't really know about that, but I know about smart TVs. I'm looking at 2 of them, but I don't know about recording on those. But, of course, you can use Audacity on your laptop or desktop. You can use the free voice recording app on your Note 8 or your iPhone, whatever, and call in. Treat it like a phone call. Well, you record it. save it, email it to paladinolive@yahoo.com, paladinolive@yahoo.com, and then I will convert it over to an MP3 file, because it rarely is. It's usually M4A or something like that. Convert it to an MP3 file, thanks to Zumzart.com. Got to give them a shout out because of what that website provides for this show. It allows me to convert audio files to MP3s, which is, of course, something you can work with Audacity. Again, Happy New Year, everybody. I'm not a huge fan of New Year's that much because I think people go way overboard with it and all that. But whatever floats your boat. If you like it, enjoy it. I'll take Thanksgiving or Christmas any day over New Year's, but it is what it is. At least you get to start a new year. Hopefully something positive comes out of it, including the Iowa Wild players continuing to get better and come up to Minnesota and have successful careers with Minnesota. That's fun to watch a guy start, go all the way, and have some major success in the NHL someday. That would be awesome. So with that, God bless you. Stay safe. If you live in the Twin Cities area right now, or Iowa, or maybe the Dakotas, it's getting kind of dangerous out there. Rain in December is not good. Rain in January, which we're pretty much in now, is not good because the temperature is not going to stay 37 degrees. I wish the damn thing stayed 27 degrees or something, and we just got some nice, dry, fluffy snow. I would take that any day over this wet crap. And now the temperatures are going to dip about 20, 30 degrees. And, well, what do you think is going to happen with all that water that I'm staring at right now? That water and slush everywhere. What do you think is going to happen when the temperature is about 8 degrees? Take a wild guess, right? A very bumpy hockey rink. Not a good hockey rink, a bumpy one where everything goes wrong. So God bless all of you. Please stay safe. Take care. We will talk to you in a week, and hopefully Minnesota starts heading in that right direction again. And if not, let's get that damn draft pick.